This conference will now be recorded.
We're going to call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting, Monday, May 6, 2024 at 5 p.m. Maria, if I can have you call the roll, please.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Levine.
Here.
Mr. Osterhout.
Here.
Ms. Goldman. Here.
Excellent. Has everyone here had the opportunity to review the April 8th minutes?
It took some time.
I know.
I made it through. I'd like to move to approve.
Second.
All right, can we call the roll, please?
Mr. Schweitzer.
Abstain.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Levine.
Yes.
Mr. Osterhout.
Yes.
Ms. Goldman. Yes.
All right, we have no old business, so before we get into new business, if you think there's any chance you're going to come up today and make some kind of public comment, please raise your hand. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge? Yes. Thank you. Okay, at the request of staff, we're going to shuffle what we had on our original agenda. We're going to start with the variance request for allowable signage in an A3 district from 1 sign per lot required to 2 signs provided for the property located at 4255 Mitchaw, parcel number 78-03044, subject to Township Zoning Resolution Section 1412. Before we start public comment, Daryl, can I have you give the staff report, please?
The subject property at 4255 Mitchaw Road consists of nearly 15-acre lot fronting onto Mitchaw Road approximately a quarter mile north of STZR Ave. 40,857 square foot place of worship is currently under construction on the site. The Board of Zoning Appeals approved the original conditional use for a semi-public use on the subject property in 2019, with an extension of the conditional use approved in 2021. The parcel is zoned A3 agriculture. Other A3 zone parcels about the subject parcels are north, south, and west. Central Trails Elementary School is to the north, large lots, single-family dwellings about to the south, and undeveloped lots to the southwest. East of the subject parcel, on the opposite side of Mitchaw Road, is Sylvan Prairie Park and Timberstone Junior High School, each zone S1 special. Section 1412 of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution states that only one wall sign shall be permitted on a building in the A3 zone district. The applicant is partnering with a private nonprofit school and would like to have 2 separate wall signs for the respective building entrances to the church and the school. Zoning staff recommends approval of the requested variance to the maximum number of wall signs from 1 required to 2 provided for the property at 4255 Mitchaw Road for the following 2 reasons. 1, approval of this variance should not present a negative impact upon the public good or neighboring properties or impair the visibility and or safety of the traveling public. 2, approval of this variance should not alter the intent of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution.
Thank you, Daryl. Again, before any public comment, does anyone have any questions for Daryl based on the staff report? Okay, it looks like none. I see you're up here and ready. So if you've signed in, please, can you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, I'm Ryan Wishaw with Toledo Sign Company.
Okay.
The address is 2021 Adams Street, Toledo, Ohio.
Okay. You coming up to make a comment? You coming up to answer questions? I want to make sure I understand.
Yep, I was hoping to answer questions, but if you guys don't have any questions about the sign bill.
Do we have any questions for the applicant at this time?
Just one. So I assume the lines, the heart, that's what it's called? Lines heart is going to the left of this 5 Lakes in that brick area?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to make sure.
I believe on the next slide should be, yeah, it's kind of inset, recessed into the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Any other questions for the applicant at this time?
Perfect.
All right,
Thank
we
you.
may have questions later, but we'll let you know. Thanks. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Come on up, please. If you can have you sign in and then state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, I'm Holly Noonan. I live at 9129 Holt Road.
Okay.
I own property that backs up to the church. I was going through the variance request and noticed something on page 3 where it says the applicant has fully complied with the township's requests, regulations, and zoning requirements for the construction of Five Lakes Church improvements. That is not a correct statement.
I see you're looking for something. May I assume it's how they're not in compliance, just so we can get to the bottom of that?
Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure we're on the same track.
Yep. So on September 25th of 2019, Lucas County Planning Commission unanimously recommends approval of subject request for a conditional use for a semi-public use. On the first page, it states, as the subject site abuts residential uses / zoning to the south, zoning staff recommends that the BZA attach as a condition of approval to this request, adequate screening and/or landscaping be installed along the southern property line to mitigate potential negative impacts upon the residential property. And it was good that they recognized that there is going to be negative impacts to all of us on that side of the church. The body voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request to the BZA, subject to 26 conditions submitted by the various local government agencies. Next page, staff further recommends that the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the conditional use request, subject to the following 3 conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall install adequate screening and/or landscaping as determined by the BZA along the southern property line to protect the residential properties from any negative effects. Noise and light pollution. We have probably devalued our property because we used to have a very nice neighborhood and now we have this huge building directly behind us. So our atmosphere has changed. And my grandkids, their play area with their slides and everything is directly in line with the front door of the church. So they have 1,500 parishioners that are on Sunday morning when my grandkids are outside playing, going to be eyeballing them. We were asking that they put something along there so that can't happen, so that they feel safe in their own backyard, which they have always done. So that was our hope, is that is what would happen. At the bottom, it says, failure to meet any conditions of the Board of Zoning Appeals attached to an approved conditional use may result in the revocation of that conditional use approval. So then I'm going to move on to Exhibit A, which was from the Lucas County Planning Commission staff report.
So quickly before you move on, I just
Yes.
want to ask a quick question to our attorneys here. I want to make sure I
Sure.
understand the scope of what we're allowed to deal with and address today. So, Mr. Burrell, are we limited in the scope of what we can review today to today's matter, which is a sign variance? Or are we to consider things related to the priorly filed and accepted conditional use? I just want to understand what we are able to discuss in scope today.
This is noticed as hearing for variance.
Okay.
The things you can consider today are the factors that are in section 1606, which are 6 or 7 factors which you can consider for variance.
Okay.
Prior, whether they have complied with the conditional use requirements is not one of the factors you may consider. That's a separate issue. They may not have complied. I don't know that. That's a separate matter. And we consider it a separate issue.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand the scope of what we're able to discuss today.
1606.
Okay. So I don't ask that question to try and brush off what you're saying. I think there's another channel to have that conversation about the conditional use.
My point is that in here, they say that they have complied. And based on that, you may vote yes, but they have not complied.
just so I can follow the facts, have you raised an official complaint with the township about this?
Yes, we
I just want to make sure I understand what's happening.
Absolutely have,
Okay.
yes.
And what's been the result of any conversation as I'm trying to?
Nothing so far.
Okay.
My attorney has sent in a letter. I think
Okay.
Mr. Gross has received it and others.
I only ask because
So
I haven't seen the letter and aren't aware of that, that's all.
I have a copy if you would like a copy of it.
You know, because we can't fact, that's not part of what we're deciding
Right.
today, I'm going to ask not to see it.
That's
but,
fine.
Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off, you can continue. Sorry,
Okay,
I just wanted
thank
to
you.
understand the lay of the land here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, under the conditions of approval, there were 26 items. I'm only going to read one.
Okay.
Number 21, staff recommends that a solid fence or mounding with landscaping be installed where abutting residential uses to the south to assist with buffering the subject property. And then the meeting minutes then from the Board of Zoning dated October 7, 2019, number 5.4. It was passed with the following conditions. Subject to the 26 conditions, number 1, subject to the 26 conditions provided by the LCPC, which I just read to you, number 21. Meet the 3 conditions listed in the staff report, which I also read to you, number 1. And then number 5 of this list says southern screening consists of coniferous trees. So I have a couple things to give to you.
We can just start it down here, we'll pass, we'll share, we'll make it work.
And then after you look that over and I explain it, these are the current pictures taken today
Okay.
of what is supposed to be, I believe, some sort of screening for my kids' play area in the front of the church. This is what they have in there. Not much of a screening.
All right,
You
let's
can
also start those
you can
down
also
here so everyone has a
pass those
chance
along.
to see it.
So this is dated 3/22/22, the planting plan. The bigger sheets that you're looking at. So on the second page, along the bottom, you'll see circles of trees. And on each one of the bottom, it will give you some letters. So there's 3 trees off to the left, and it says PLAB. So if you go back to the front page and you look for PL1B, PLAB, it's a Norway spruce, 8 foot high. That's what was supposed to be put in there. So if you look all along the bottom, every one of those that has a number and a letter, all those are some sort of pine tree, 8 foot tall. And you'll see that on the front page. So currently what they have is the pictures, the snapshots that we took today. So.
Ms. Noonan, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Have you talked to the church?
Yes. My daughter-in-law spoke to them.
And what has their response been?
Go ahead,
We
you want-
can do whatever we want.
We're gonna need you to do it.
Okay.
You might not pick it up on the mic for the record, so if anything
What
come
you,
up,
you want me to come up now or let her finish?
Come on.
we can let her finish and then you can jump in. We'll go one at a time here. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thanks for asking.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm pretty much done, but
Okay.
if you have any questions about what I've given you, I'll be here for a while, but I ask that today you vote no on the request based on a lack of compliance with the conditional use approval. Once the conditional use approval, the screening that we are expecting to see with 8 foot trees I would not oppose the signage. But right now, with them stating that they are in compliance on their request, and they're not, I would hope that you would vote no until they are in compliance.
Okay, thanks for your comments. Any questions while we have Ms. Noonan up here? No? No? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the next logical place is let's figure out your conversation with the church. I'll have you sign in, please. State your name and address for the record. After this one.
Okay, I'm Amber Noonan, and I live on 4210 Holt Road,
Okay.
Pennsylvania. So my property is the property that we are having the most issue with, because my husband grew up on Holt Road. His family has lived there for over 50 years. So we're all family, pretty much on that end of Holt Road. And so with the church, when we saw the development, we didn't realize when you look at paper, you know, we actually had thought the entrance was going to be closer towards the woods when we originally came to the original meetings and stuff. We thought, okay, yeah, you know, everything looks fine on paper. And then seeing the Board of Zoning appeals or approval for the zoning change, we all were in agreement, like, okay, we felt protected saying that there would be a mound of trees or a screening of trees and a mound or a solid fence, one or the other. We felt like it was in black and white right there, you know. We felt like, okay, this, as a normal person that doesn't do this for a living, looking at it, we're like, okay, it felt protected. Like we're, you know, the church is getting what they want and, you know, our privacy and my children's protection and safety in our backyard is covered. So we were like, okay, you know, so then fast forward, the church starts getting put up. And, you know, it takes a little while to kind of see what the shape is going to look like. And then as it got further along, you're like, wow, that entrance, that's right in my backyard. Like you see in the pictures. I mean, that entrance, you walk in and out of church, you are facing my backyard. And so that's when we really started to, you know, have a problem because there's been workers there for over 2 years, you know, all sorts of kinds of people. And the whole point is you don't know what kind of people those are. I mean, obviously, even when you go to church, you hope the people you go to church with are there for the right reasons. So the point is that my children play in my backyard, and I've always been able to sit in my house and do my work. I work from home sometimes, and I've been able to sit and do my office work inside. And my kids could play outside in my backyard, and I didn't have an issue. I didn't have a concern. You know, they'd come in, run in whenever. But now that anyone can see them, now with the sign, which we did not know back then, that they were going to try and put a daycare in there. And I did call the church and asked, and they said they were not affiliated with the company, and that was a private company that was going to, you know, open in place within their church. We were not aware of it back then when things were approved. We assumed it was just going to be a church, and they would have Sunday service, and then they'd probably have Bible study and some activities throughout the week. But we didn't realize that this was going to be a 5-day-a-week thing now. Now actually more than that. It's almost 7 days a week. And now it's 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 p.m. So now you have people that bring their kids in the morning. And, you know, I have dogs. So you get people walking. I mean, you can see there's, in those pictures, I mean, trees take years. They take years to be able to mature. So what they're providing is not adequate by any means. And I did have conversations with Daryl, and I also had conversations with Benton Cole from the church, multiple conversations. I called him in December of last year, and I said, you know, hey, I wanted to know what your guys' plans were. We didn't know, you know, going forward, things, you know, the church looked like it was progressing to the point that they were going to get towards opening of the church. So we said, you know, what are your plans for, you know, protecting, you know, the privacy between the two? And he said, we have no plans of it as of right now. Right now it's December, it's not even warm out. We have no plans. And I said, okay. Well, I said, would you consider maybe putting a fence up? You know, I felt like it would be nice to have a fence between the two. Not only added protection, but it would be a little bit more private. Because yes, a mound and trees would be ideal, or, you know, fine. Whether or not it would actually be cheaper or not is beyond me. I don't know that it would actually be cheaper. I would have thought a fence would be cheaper. So I said, you know, we're okay, you know, with the fence. And then he said, would you be willing to split the cost of the fence with us? And I said, well, I don't know. Maybe we could consider, maybe if you put a fence and maybe your church was going to cover one style of fence, maybe we would see what the difference would be to upgrade the fence to make it nicer to, you know, for the privacy between the two. And he said, okay, well, when we get closer to the planning and stuff, I'll reach out to you. And I said, okay. So that was the end of our conversation in December. Fast forward to about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I was bringing home my preschooler, and I was pulling into my driveway, and my mother-in-law had our grandmother on the golf cart, and we look, and there's all these people walking in my backyard. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go see why all these people are walking in my backyard. And so we walk back to our backyard, and I'm like, can we help you? And they're like, we're just volunteers with the church, and we're just trying to figure out property lines. I'm like, okay, this is kind of, you know, they already had the surveyors and stuff, you know, mark where the line was. I mean, they have like, you know, like a little black screen that you can see in the photos at the very bottom. So we're like, okay, so you already know where the property line is. This is okay. And we said, you know, what's going on? There's no mound, there's no nothing. And kind of got into it a little bit with them because we're like, you know, because we didn't know that they had nothing to do with it, like the actual church. They're like, well, it's already all done. We're like, what do you mean it's all done? They're like, yeah, we already have the plans. It's already all done. And I said, what do you mean your plans? It's already all done. Nobody called me. Nobody reached out to me. You know, nobody had a conversation with me. I was told I was going to have, somebody was going to reach out and have a conversation with me. And that didn't happen. And he said, no, we have the drawings right here. The trees, you know, are coming in right now. So I was like, okay, so we're just, you know, you guys are just going to get away and do with whatever you want. And I was, you know, pretty upset. There was two older gentlemen. They were really nice, and they were very understanding and saw the concern as my 4-year-old was hopping and doing whatever he wanted right then and there. Could see that, you know, I have little kids and my place that was there. And they were like, okay, you know, we understand, you know, we, you know, agreed. So anyways, they said, well, we'll tell the pastor to reach out to you. Okay. So probably not even an hour later, my phone rings, and I did not give him my number. So he had my number. So it wasn't a matter of him not having my number because he had it. And so he calls me, and we ended up having a 22-minute conversation, or I should say argument, because he was very defensive. And he even said within the conversation, why are you mocking me? My 9-year-old was sitting at the table with me and my husband along my side. I was not arguing with him. I was stating the fact that he did not call me and that he did not have this conversation with me, and that I said, well, you know, we didn't even have a conversation about fence. He said, a fence is out of the budget. It's out of the question. We're out of money. It's not going to happen. And we can do whatever we want. That's what he said. We can do whatever we want. So it's like comes back to you guys saying, no, you can't do whatever you want because as it says on the variance that they're in compliance, and they are not in compliance because they did not provide screening or adequate screening, a fence, a mound, any of that, which you guys originally put in your report. So, I mean, to me, I would not approve the sign until the actual conditions are met. I mean, how much, if the wiring is already there for the sign, what's the difference of waiting some time until they've actually met their requirements that they're supposed to do and then say yes to the sign? So my point is that they're not following your guys's, anything that you guys had put on that letter, the 26 conditions. And when I went into Daryl's office last week, I was very heated and very upset because he kept telling me they were grandfathered in. And I said, grandfathered into what? He said, they're grandfathered into not having landscape requirements. And I said, landscape requirements have nothing to do with this. This is how the zoning was approved, the change was approved, that they have to follow these conditions. And I asked him if he was a parishioner of the church, because the way he's been defending this church is kind of concerning to me. And he said, no, and what's it matter? And what it matters is that it is a conflict of interest, because I don't understand why nobody is upholding these conditions that you guys put on this zoning letter.
True. If he's not a parishioner, it can't be a conflict of interest.
Well, right.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
He said he's not, so he said he's not.
I believe him.
Okay, no, I didn't question him any further. I just had asked him, because my point was, he was just, it seemed so defensive over the issue that I was concerned that he was, because how can you not care about my children? Do you not care about their safety? Is it just like, it's just one kid, 2 kids, it'll be all right? You know what I mean? How do you pick and choose who you protect and who you don't protect? And, this is the whole point you guys made those conditions, is to protect us neighbors, our residential properties. So not only, I did have my house appraised today, so I'm waiting to see if it came back, less because of the church in my backyard. And my mother-in-law did hire an attorney. And I also spoke with my attorney over this, because, somebody has to enforce this. And so again, I would say no to the sign until the conditions are met, because they're not met. They have not come that far. And my 9-year-old would like to speak. So he does want to talk.
Okay.
So come here, buddy. He needs a chair, so I gotta get a chair. He's a little short. I can tell. Well, he can't see anything though. Hold on. Do you want me to pull this down for you? I'll sign you in, okay?
Welcome to the zoning board. Can I have you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Charles Noonan, and I live on 4210 Holt Road, Sylvania, Ohio.
Well, welcome. What would you like to share with us today?
My backyard is against the church's entrance. My brother Henry, that is 4 years old, and I play in my backyard. When we're playing, we don't like strangers watching us play. I'm concerned for my little brother. He does things that he's not supposed to do, and sometimes goes potty outside. So I will hope you will hide us from strangers watching us play.
Thank you for your comment. We appreciate it. Okay. Before we take any other comments, does anybody have any questions for, I think, Mr. Miller, you mentioned we have a question or two for Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl, so what's the status of this complaint?
So yes, the Doones were in my office last week and the week before. I contacted legal counsel last week, John Burrell. He was on vacation. In fact, today's his first day back. Season's first. Welcome back from vacation. So we have not had a chance to go over the letter at this time, other than a phone conversation. And John and I agreed that probably the best thing would be to have a meeting with the church, the Noonans, Mr. Burrell, and myself to go over some of this.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions for Daryl at this time? All right. Would anyone else here this evening like to speak on this matter? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to request that we go into deliberative session. So it is 5:29. We will be right back. Saw thumbs up? Okay. We are back on the record from deliberative session at 5:41 PM. At this time, I want to let you all know we are going to recess this matter to next month and give this greater consideration. We'll bring it up at our meeting. What's the date of our June meeting? June 3rd. We'll be back June 3rd on this issue. All right, we're going to move on to the next variance request, but I need to first recuse myself to a conflict of interest on this matter. And I will turn the wheel over to Mr. Osterhout, and Mr. Mack can come up as our alternate.
Thank you, Jason. So item number 4 on our agenda this evening, a variance request for fencing within a front setback from 30-foot required to 0 feet provided for the property located at 5555 West Central Ave, parcel number 78-69201, Sylvania Township zoning resolution section 1307-C. Daryl, may I have the staff report, please?
Subject property at 5555 West Central Avenue consists of a 6.4 acre lot on the southwest corner of Central and Republic Boulevard. The use of the property is that of an automobile sales and service business with a 45,610 square foot building occupying the approximate center of the site. The entire parcel is zoned C2 general commercial. Other C2 zone commercial uses but the subject parcel on all sides. A vehicle collision shop owned by the applicant is to the south, and another automobile sales business butts to the west. A multi-tenant office building, fast food restaurant, and public utility are to the north on the opposite side of Central Avenue. And vacant commercial land and a courier lot are to the east on the opposite side of Republic Boulevard. Section 1307C of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution mandates that a fence within the front setback shall be no taller than 4 feet for open fencing and no taller than 3 feet for solid fencing. The minimum front setback in the C2 zone classification is 35 feet. The applicant has installed electric vehicle charging equipment up to the public right-of-way of Republic Boulevard and wishes to install an 8-foot-tall chain-link fence with aluminum slatting around the equipment. The fenced-in area would be approximately 22 feet by 16 feet. The applicant is requesting a 35-foot variance to section 1307C of the zoning resolution to site the fence 0 feet from the public right-of-way of Republic Boulevard. Zoning staff recommends denial of the requested variance to the front setback from 35 feet required to 0 feet provided for the property at 5555 West Central Avenue for the following 3 reasons. 1, the height and distance from the public right-of-way of the proposed fence with slatting may impair the visibility and/or safety of the traveling public. 2, the purpose of setbacks is to limit the encroachment of structures on property or right-of-way lines for aesthetic as well as safety purposes. Eliminating this setback substantially alters the intent of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution. And 3, staff finds no hardship, exceptionality, special circumstances, or conditions to warrant relief from the terms of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution.
Thank you, Daryl. I have a couple questions, and then we'll ask the board if they have any questions. So one of the first questions I have, would they also need a height variance as well? Because it's in the front setback, the side setback,
For the,
fence height?
well, there's 2 ways of approaching it. Is one for fence height, the other would be for the front setback. Either
Oh,
way,
okay,
it's-
I see what you're saying. Second thing, was this originally shown on the plans when they submitted originally for zoning permit?
The fence,
Yes.
that's a trigger for variance. We were unaware of the charging station coming in, and we've been contacted about it, and
So work was already started? I mean, because it looks like that from the pictures.
what the fence regulations.
Okay. Any other questions for Daryl?
Yeah, maybe. I think so. So, I guess I'm confused. So if this was approved, they would still need another variance, right? If they wanted to put that fence in.
From 4 feet to 8 feet
Yeah.
is his question.
Right, yeah, if they got 3-foot solid or 4-foot open, yeah, that permit would be approved.
Thanks.
Would anybody like to speak on this matter?
Well, sure.
If you would please state your name and sign in for the record, please.
My name is Sam Oxner, from Transtar Electric, and represent York Automotive Group. So took this upon myself to put this design together for DJ York Automotive Group, and relied on my fencing contractor, Marlo Hercules Fence, as I'm doing this, and lo and behold, I'm ready for the fence, and then I'd have a problem. So I'm not sure what other options are available, or if anything's available, plannings or anything like that. The whole EV industry is new to everybody. The amount of power that is required for these charging systems is amazing. This particular service is 277 480 volt, 1200 amps, which is a significant size service. Not only is it unsightly, but I believe it's, also a safety issue, just because it's wide open and people can gain access to it, and not all the transformers are completely sealed, So I'm not sure what options I have in convincing you guys that a fence is a good idea for not only safety, but for the aesthetics of the township. But I'd ask you to reconsider the recommendation and approve it.
Sam, in that bottom picture there, what is the height of that main switch in the back of that behind the transformer or the disconnect?
You're probably looking at about 6.5 to 7 feet here.
Okay.
Was there any question as to the installation of the equipment, if that is a violation of a zoning or anything like that? Or is equipment on a different?
We currently do not have any regulations on electric vehicle charging.
Right, or in any sort of electrical equipment like.
Right,
for
the
example.
only other place that I know of offhand that we've got in the township, and they did contact us, was the ones that were put in by Meyer that are along the side of AAA. Those are in the parking lot, far from the road. They did contact us about it as far as if they needed permits or whatever. It's probably something that going forward, these are going to become more common, and we probably will need to get some kind of regulations on them if anybody else is going to put them right in the street, because we don't allow gas pumps by the street, so it's kind of the same thing. But, for the time being, these are okay where they are, as we don't have any regulation on it.
Got it.
But again, had the zoning department been contacted, if we had known the whole story, that they wanted to put up a 8-foot fence, we would advise them they would need to put this further inland on the lot. Or a short fence.
Sam, from your perspective or the owner's perspective, since you're speaking on behalf of York, is the screening for protection or is it for aesthetics?
Both safety and aesthetics, not one or the other.
So all that equipment's locked, I assume?
It is, yeah. And we did submit drawings to Lucas County and gained approval, but we did not go through the zoning.
I also saw on your drawings that you provided here that regarding the fence, you intend for it to have visual barrier strips to match the dealership corporate colors?
Correct.
Is that blue?
blue and now white. More white than blue. But that could be changed to, green if the board thought that that was more appropriate and that would gain approval. I'm sure we could do something that's a little bit more earth friendly.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, Sam, when this was approved by the county, did it show the fence?
It did, just as you see it indicated on there. Well, I guess I can't answer that without looking at the drawings closer.
Any other questions?
Sam, it looks like the underground power is run along the public. There, is that one of the reasons you chose to put it there? Or it looks like it's overhead there, so they bring it down a pole and then run it in?
Correct, they did a lateral drop because of the size, and there's really no place else, inland, so to speak, to put it without it being in the middle of the lot and in the way of, normal traffic of the site itself.
And this sits right on the property line, it looks like.
Correct.
So there's really no opportunity to do any type of landscaping because you're outside you're into the right of way.
Would anybody else care to speak on this matter? Would the board like
Yeah, so one other question. So you could go inland, you just couldn't go 35 feet.
Correct. 35 foot would have put me right in the traffic, entering into the service bays, et cetera.
All right. I'm good. Sorry.
Would the board like a deliberative session to discuss?
One more quick question. I assume these poles that are here are the poles you would want for an 8-foot fence?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
At 5:53, the board is going to go into a deliberative session. We'll be back. Good. All right, it's 6:07. Back on the record here. So can I get a motion to approve a variance request for the fencing within the front setback from 35 required to 0 provided for the property located at 5555 West Central Ave, parcel number 78-69201, Sylvania Township, section, zoning resolution section 1307-C with conditions.
Yes, I'll make that motion as stated with the conditions of a 6 foot, a 6 foot tall fence in height and with a decorative fence that is approved by the zoning manager in the zoning department.
Marie, can you call the roll, please?
Need a second.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Second, second.
Marie, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Schlechter.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Miller. Mr. Alsterdam.
Yes.
And Ms. Golden.
Yes.
Thank you. You'll be getting something in the mail from Daryl.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Good of you. Oh, mess it up. We'll make it through. Okay, thank you for filling in for me. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We have one final piece of new business for the evening. We have a conditional use for a home occupation within a residential district for the property located at 5171 Comstock Drive, parcel number 78-10616, Sylvania Township zoning resolution section 600. Daryl, if we could please have your staff report.
Sure. The subject property at 5171 Comstock Drive consists of nearly 1¼ acre lot within the Quarry Ridge residential subdivision. 1,477 square foot single-family dwelling constructed in 2020 is situated on the lot. The property is zoned R2 PUD and currently conforms to those development standards. Other single-family dwellings within the Quarry Ridge subdivision abut the subject parcel on all sides. Those to the east, south, and west are, like the subject property, zoned R2 PUD, while those to the north are zoned R2 PUD. Section 813 of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution allows for a resident of a dwelling to engage in a limited business occupation within the dwelling, provided the home occupation is clearly incidental and secondary to the use of the dwelling. The applicant is requesting a conditional use for a home occupation for the purpose of operating a licensed federal firearms dealership. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives requires persons purchasing firearms online to do so through a certified firearms dealer who possesses a federal firearms license. The firearm is shipped to the FFL, who is responsible for adhering to all ATF requirements regarding background checks, etc., before transferring the firearm to the purchaser. The ATF also requires that an FFL's firearms be secured on the premises. Zoning staff recommends approval of the request of conditional use for a home occupation for the property located at 5171 Comstock Drive for the following 3 reasons. 1, staff finds no reason that this requested home occupation would not meet the requirements for a home occupation as defined in Section 813 of the zoning resolution. 2, approval of this conditional use should not present a negative impact on the public good or neighboring properties or impair the visibility and or safety of the traveling public. And 3, approval of this conditional use should not alter the intent of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution.
Thank you, Daryl. Does anyone up here have any questions for Daryl based on the staff report?
Any public input?
Phone calls, drop-bys, emails?
We had one person come by, call.
Yes.
Genuine tenor of the phone call, just for,
That's it.
were they for, against, just wanted information?
They just want to know what it was.
Okay. Got it.
And also, just as an FYI, I'm sure the ATF has contacted our police department.
I'm sure.
I did send our police chief and deputy chief FYI email that this request was going to be heard, and if they had any questions or concerns, to let me know. And I didn't hear anything.
Okay. Any other questions for Daryl based on the staff report? If not, looks like our applicant's eager to talk, so if I can have you sign in, please, state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. Josh Haight, 5171 Comstock. And
Okay.
just here for questions.
Anyone have any questions for our applicant?
Will you have people picking firearms up at your house, or?
So it's mostly online consignment. Legally, yeah, I can help somebody if they wanted to, but it's really all online.
Any other questions for our applicant? So you don't anticipate much in the way of additional traffic or anything of that nature?
No, neighborhood shouldn't change at all.
Right. Anybody else? Does anybody need deliberative session? Seeing none, what the heck, I got to sit out the last one, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve a conditional use for a home occupation. Oh, sorry, I forgot to ask, does anyone else here want to speak on this matter? I went into autopilot and I apologize. Anyone want to speak on this matter? No, okay. I'll make a motion for a conditional use for a home occupation within a residential district for the property located at 5171 Comstock Drive, parcel number 78-10616, Savannah Township zoning resolution section 600. Second. I'll let you both decide. My turn. So I can have you call the roll, please.
Okay, Ms. Coleman.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Mr. Levine.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Schlechter.
Yes.
The motion is passed. You'll get something in the mail from us probably next 30 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah. Seeing that we have no other new business, would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? All right, anyone got a second? Okay, we have a second. Can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Schlechter.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Levine.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenbaum.
Yes.
Ms. Coleman.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 6:24.